Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Hai Guru Dev Jaya Guru Dev Jaya Jaya Guru Dev Jaya Guru Dev Jayom Vishnu Bhara Paramaham Sabrai Vrajakacharya Stotara Satashishi Baba Ichananara Dividanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayom Vishnu Bhara Paramaham Sabrai Vrajakacharya Stotara Satashishi Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Gauri Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Vimsik Oho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasani Gaura Bhaktivinoda Shri Radha Krishna Sham Guna Radha Guna Giri Gaurani Jai Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Yamunamai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Or Premananda Hari Hari Bol All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Namaste Saraswati Devi. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo. So, Hare Krishna, good evening, everyone. Sorry for my really bad voice tonight. We'll see how we do. I might have to have one of you take over the class if I can't talk properly. Okay, so last week we studied Canto 4, Chapter 3, Text 4. So now, this week, we're going to read and discuss Canto 4, Chapter 3, Text 24. But in between now and then, we're going to kind of summarize what happens after Sati first notices the celestial airplanes flying through the sky. And she sees the beautiful demigods and demigoddesses. And it's especially mentioned how the goddesses are all very nicely decorated with ornaments. And then in texts 5 through 7, the translation tells about how Sati noticed the eyes of the goddesses and that they were very beautifully glittering. So when we read that, we know that we can know that glittering or sparkling eyes are very important for ladies. So please always have let's always have our eyes be sparkling. Hare Krishna. Hare Bo. Hare Krishna. And of course, they were dressed in fine clothing and ornamented with earrings and necklaces with lockets. So lockets are usually referring to little enclosures. They're usually shaped in an oval, and you can open them up, and when you look inside, there's some little treasure inside. So that's what a locket is. But of course, not everyone has a locket on this planet. They're kind of expensive, I guess. But at least if we can dress with pretty ornaments for our husband, then it's very pleasing to him and it keeps him cheerful. So then Sati approaches her husband because she has a strong desire to go to the sacrifice at her father's home, even though her father has been very insulting toward her husband. She nonetheless desires to go. Why? Because she wants to see her sisters and her aunties and see how they're all dressed, and she wants to dress equally to them and have fun conversing with them and hugging them and laughing, because as Srila Prabhupada says, girls always may associate with each other in ways that produce laughter. I forget exactly how he says it. Maybe some of you know that little quote by heart. He mentions that girls always laugh together when they're together. It's true. So Sati was desiring this kind of sweet, fun association with her female family members. So she approached her husband very humbly and very carefully, and she delicately brought up the subject. And she even said that, "My dear Lord, I desire to go to my father's house and dress up like my sisters, and I want to decorate myself with the ornaments from my father." The problem with Lord Shiva, actually, it's not really a problem. It's just one of his characteristics that he doesn't indulge in material things. He doesn't even have a house. So Sati was living under a tree with him, and he had apparently never given her any ornaments. So she very honestly said to her husband that, "I desire to wear the ornaments that my father has given me." So now, what did Lord Shiva say? He said, he smiled, even though the words of Daksha still hurt him. So he tried to make her happy by smiling. So then Lord Shiva spoke to Sati. He said, this is text 16, in case anybody wants to read it along. That, "My dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited. This is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him." So Lord Shiva knew that Daksha was already angry with him, and because Sati had chosen Shiva as her husband, Daksha was scornful toward her as well. But she didn't want to face that. She didn't want to recognize that. She just was thinking about her sisters and her mother and her aunties and how fun it would be and pleasant it would be to associate with them. So then Lord Shiva actually explains to Sati that one should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend, when the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. So this is a very heavy purport Srila Prabhupada gives to this translation. We'll just read it quickly. Prabhupada says, however low a person may be, he is never unkind to his children, wife, and nearest kin. Even a tiger is kind to its cubs. For within the animal kingdom, the cubs are treated very nicely. Since Sati was the daughter of Daksha, however cruel and contaminated he might be, naturally it was expected that he would receive her very nicely. But here it is indicated by the word anavastita, that such a person cannot be trusted. Tigers are very kind to their cubs, but it is also known that sometimes they eat them. Malicious persons should not be trusted because they are always unsteady. Thus, Sati was advised not to go to her father's house, because to accept such a father as a relative and to go to his house without being properly invited was not suitable. So there's that is a pretty amazing purport. Then Lord Shiva says, if one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not as aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative. For such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. So Prabhupada says in the purport that Sati might have thought that she could tolerate it if her father spoke unkindly to her. But Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, toward the end, he says, one can suffer harm from an enemy and not mind so much, because pain inflicted by an enemy is natural. But when one is hurt by the strong words of a relative, one suffers the effects continually, day and night. And sometimes the injury becomes so intolerable that one commits suicide. So now this next verse, text 20, starts out, my dear white complexioned wife. White complexioned wife. So that's why she's called Gauri, because she has a white complexion. It is clear that of the many daughters of Daksha, you are the pet. Yet you will not be honored at his house because of your being my wife. Rather, you will be sorry that you are connected with me. Oh, that's really sad. So now let's go to text 24. Now here in text 24, Lord Shiva is giving his wife a clear instruction. He says, therefore, you should not see your father. Although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. This is a very good instruction that we should not associate with people who are inimical toward our husband, because it's a very contaminating association to be around people who disdain our husband. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent. So just see how simple-hearted and honest Lord Shiva is. That he knows he's innocent. He did not deserve the cruel words of Daksha. And he's truthfully admitting that to Sati. So now let's read the purport. For a woman, both the husband and the father are equally worshipable. The husband is the protector of a woman during her youthful life, whereas the father is her protector during her childhood. Thus, both are worshipable, but especially the father, because he is the giver of the body. Lord Shiva reminded Sati, quote, your father is undoubtedly worshipable, even more than I am. But take care, for although he is the giver of your body, he may also be the taker of your body. Because when you see your father, because of your association with me, he may insult you. An insult from a relative is worse than death, especially when one is well situated. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ugam Karoti Vachalam Angum Langayate Kirim Yat Kribahatamaham Bante Shri Guru Dinatara. Translation again. Therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me. Because of his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I am innocent. So very interesting purport too. For a woman, God says, both the husband and the father are equally worshipable. In the story of Devahuti and Kardama Muni, we are told that the wife should see the husband as the Supreme Lord. And we are told by our great grandfather Madhvacharya that the wife should see her husband as the Supreme Lord. So I don't know if there's any mention in the scripture about how the daughter should see her father, but I know in my own case, I practically worshipped my father, and he was just a mundane karmi, or even you could say a vikarmi, because he didn't understand. He was a asura. He didn't understand how to behave and how not to behave. So nonetheless, I really adored him. So that's common for girls to worship their father. But in my case, also, I can say from experience that I always looked forward to finding my husband. And it's said that once a girl gives her heart to her husband, she can never forget him. And that's true. So both the husband and the father are, Prabhupada says, equally worshipable. The husband is the protector of a woman during her youthful life, whereas the father is her protector during her childhood. Thus, both are worshipable. Interesting that Srila Prabhupada says, thus, both are worshipable, after talking about how they are her protectors. So if someone is one's protector, then that person is worshipable. So he says, thus both are worshipable, but especially the Father, because he is the giver of the body. That's why the husband, because to get great blessing, it's a chance. It's a springboard from which we can return to the spiritual world. So yeah, the Father is more worshipable because he gives us our body. So now, isn't this an interesting statement by Lord Shiva? That your father is undoubtedly worshipable, even more than I am. But take care, for although he is the giver of your body, he may also be the taker of your body. Because when you see your father, because of your association with me, he may insult you. An insult from a relative is worse than death, especially when one is well situated. So now, does anyone have a thought about why Lord Shiva would say this phrase, especially when one is well situated? I'm thinking that, oh, yes? Who is this? Is this Artie? Artie, I'm not hearing anything, sweetheart. So if you're saying something, then it says that your network bandwidth is low. Oh, my voice is not audible?
Machi, I think it's a problem with her connection. It's audible to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. So sorry. Anyway, so what I was thinking is that if a person is well situated, in other words, if his or her life is auspicious, he has, the blessings that are available to fortunate souls, pious souls, like a beautiful body and a wealthy position, good education, good family, like that. So when one is in that kind of position, then to be insulted by a relative is more devastating than if you're a street sweeper or someone who is in a very low position in society. That's what I was thinking he meant. Does anyone else have another thought? Please unmute yourself and share if you have an idea what Lord Shiva is talking about here when he says, especially when one is well situated. This is not to explain the phrase, but this sentence, an insult from a relative is worse than death, especially when one is well situated. It reminds me of when Lakshman had to leave the palace of Ram because of a condition that was made by the personality of death. Death personified came to see Lord Ram, and he told Lord Ram that no one should hear what I'm going to say to you. If anyone comes in the room while we're talking, then you must promise to kill that person. So then so Lord Ram agreed, and while they were talking, Durvasa Muni came to the palace, and Lakshman was guarding the door because Ram had told him, don't let anyone in. So when Durvasa Muni said, I want to see Ram, then Lakshman told him, I'm sorry, but my brother is busy right now and he can't be disturbed. So can you kindly wait? Then Durvasa Muni became very angry and he threatened to curse the whole family. So then Lakshman thought, okay, well, better I be killed by Ram than our whole family be cursed by Durvasa Muni. So then Lakshman went into the room. And after that, Ram was in a quandary because he didn't want to kill Lakshman. Lakshman is his favorite. And so Lakshman told him, no, it's okay. You should kill me right now. That was the agreement. But Ram consulted with his ministers and they said, if you banish him, that is the same as killing him. So that's what he did. He sent Lakshman away. And Lakshman left the planet because he couldn't tolerate the separation from Ram. So in that way also, death can come about if one is banished. So banishment and insult can cause great pain in the heart. And that pain can become so intense that the person commits suicide. Srila Prabhupada was very honest about that. Okay, now it's 7:37, so I would like to thank you all for reading Srimad Bhagvatam with me. And let's go to Fascinating Womanhood, chapter 5. I hope everyone read the chapter. So now this week, I did not have a chance to do any highlighting. So if any of you picked up some important points in the chapter, you can share with the rest of us. I'm just going to skim through and see if I can remember some of the things that stood out in the chapter for me. Okay, one of them is in the very first paragraph. She says, Helen Evelyn says, what does the word admire mean? How does it differ from the word appreciate in the last chapter? That's a very good question. The words are somewhat synonymous, but in Fascinating Womanhood, they are defined in this way. You appreciate a man for his true worth and what he does for you, whereas you admire him for his manliness. Okay, so we appreciate our husband for his true worth and what he does for us. And we admire him for his manliness. So, okay, now she talks about admiring his manliness. Deep in his heart, every man longs for admiration of his manliness, his masculine skills, his masculine abilities, his masculine achievements, his masculine ideas, his masculine dreams, and his manly body. He hungers for admiration of these things just as he hungers for bread. So just as we need love, our husband needs admiration. Although admiration is all important to a man, it isn't something he can get for himself. It must be given to him by those who respect and love him. He likes receiving it from any and every source, but especially from the woman he loves. The woman who can pass over his human frailties and discover things to genuinely admire, things which others fail to notice or appreciate, is a woman to be treasured. It is such a woman who wins his deepest and most tender affection. As she gives him admiration, he returns love. And just a thought I wanted to share with all of you, is that we love our husband as our service to him and to Lord Krishna. We love our husband as a service. So let's keep that in mind. It's our duty, actually, to love him. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a very important paragraph, this next one, because it talks about how if we fail in admiring our husband, We may be endangering our husband because he may fall prey to the beguiling charms of a woman who understands, a different woman who understands this principle. If our husband goes out in the world and if we haven't been admiring him, he's craving admiration in his heart, and he goes out, if he happens to meet some lady who knows how to appreciate and admire a man's masculinity, he could fall head over heels for this other woman. So that's another really important reason to protect our husband by giving him the admiration he craves. And what did Srila Prabhupada tell us? We need to learn how to speak sweet words. So this is what sweet words are. They are words of appreciation and admiration that help our husband to stay focused on his Ekapatni Vrat. Wow, then she talks about how admiration is very important even for young boys. So we should be conscious of that as well with our sons and with our students, if we're a teacher, or our patients, if we're a nurse or a doctor. We should always be aware of how important it is to encourage men and boys in our life by giving them admiration and appreciation. Okay, now on page 81, she talks about what to admire. What he wants you to admire more than anything else are his manly qualities. If you admire only those traits which are alike in both men and women, you will be disappointed. For example, if you admire him because he is kind, thoughtful, good-looking, or well-groomed, he may appreciate your praise, but it will do little to stir his feelings for you. It is his masculinity he wants noticed and appreciated. His masculine body, skills, abilities, achievements, and dreams. Okay? So let's go over the masculine qualities. Number one, his masculine body. These are his physical features, such as his large build. And just on this note, remember when we read The Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood, it said that if your husband is not bigger, then admire his strength. Because even if he's a smaller size man, he's probably strong. So just keep that in mind if you have a small husband. Okay. Okay, so first of all is his large build, strong muscles, deep-pitched voice, heavy jaw, beard, mustache, heavy walk, large hands, or anything which distinguishes him as part of the male sex. So those are those are good, important things to compliment our husband on. Those attributes of a male body. Even though we're not these bodies, and we all know that, and our husbands know it, still, when we compliment our husband on his masculinity, it helps him to stop craving, at least for the time being, it helps him to feel a little satisfied. And again, it helps him take his mind away from other women, because that's a very dangerous thing, especially in this day and age, because women are so available to men. So we have to protect our husbands. So masculine skills and abilities, masculine achievements, masculine goals and dreams. That's what she means when she talks about dreams. She's talking about goals. Masculine traits of character. Let's read that. Masculine men tend to be decisive. My husband is really good at that. If I'm vacillating about some decision and I can't make the decision fast enough, I'll say, Prabhu, you're really good at making decisions. Can you help me with this? And he's like, snap of the fingers, ready with a good decision. And if I follow his decision, then I'm always safe. And I have noticed over the years. One of the reasons why men are good at making decisions is because they're able to see the bigger picture, whereas women can't see the forest for the trees, as the old saying goes. That means that we women are caught up in such details, what's right in front of us, that we can't so easily see the bigger picture. But our husbands know how to step back and take account of all the considerations and then make a decision based on all things to be considered. So let's see. Decisive. Masculine men tend to be decisive, steadfast, and aggressive. These traits seem to be uniquely masculine. In contrast, feminine women tend to be vacillating. It's hard for them to make a decision. Submissive, and complacent. Complacent meaning not so aggressive to make changes, but they're rather more willing to accept things as they are and adjust to the way things are. Masculine character includes chivalry toward women and children. It includes a sense of honor in masculine duty, such as the manly courage to face a situation which, if he were to neglect it, he simply would not feel like a man. So if our man shows courage in a difficult situation, we can admire him for that. Using words. And if speaking words aloud is too difficult for us, then we can write him a little note appreciating something about him. Okay. Now on page 83, she has a little subtitle, Discovering Things to Admire. Number 1, think about him. Most of your thoughts are probably focused on your own concerns, the children, household chores, personal problems, and things you are involved in. Try thinking about your husband. Think about what kind of a man he is. What problems has he faced? What has he overcome? What has he done with his life thus far? What would he like to do in the future? What are his strong points? Admire these. So those of us who participated in the Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood classes, we all wrote a list of positive masculine. I hope we all still have those lists because they're very helpful. And if we want to, we can go over those lists again and again and think about how each of those qualities represent our husband. And we can feel inspired to admire those qualities in our husband. Observe him. Keep your eyes open and observe what he does, and you will find things to admire. Every man has either brains, brawn, or skill. Okay, so he's either got brains, meaning he's intelligent, or he has brawn, which means he's very strong, or he has skill, which means he's talented, expert at what he does. So observe him in these 3 categories. Number 3, listen to him talk. Your greatest opportunity to admire him will be when he talks, especially when he talks about himself, subjects he is interested in, or his life away from home. He is most apt to show talent and ability when he talks about his work. And he may display courage or other manly qualities in facing problems or difficulties in his work. So this is maybe a little difficult for us because our lives are so busy. And like she says, that our thoughts may be focused on our children and the household chores. And if we work outside the home, of course, our thoughts would be focused on that as well. So this takes some concerted effort to think about our husband, observe him, and listen to him talk. Today, I got a really good chance to listen to my husband talk. He was talking about when he was in Mayapur in 1977, and he got to see Srila Prabhupada dancing in front of Sri Sri Radha Madhava. and how there was a brilliant golden light emanating from Srila Prabhupada. So he was really relishing that memory. So I listened and I encouraged him to talk more and more. So it was a fun exercise for me to get a chance to follow what I had just read in this chapter. It was very helpful to me. But I also learned, I also had a realization that we shouldn't be attached to the results. When we're listening attentively to our husband, we shouldn't be attached to the results of him appreciating our good listening skills, because something may happen that causes a problem, and it turns out to be less of an enlivening experience for him or for us or for both than we both expected. So always, we have to be detached from the fruits of our actions and doing things only for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna. So I'm going to close there. Thank you, everyone, for your good attention. And so for next week, please read chapter 6, make him number 1. And again, the assignments at the end of the chapter are voluntary. I can't think of the word, elective. They are elective. You can choose whether to do them or not. But definitely read the chapter. I'm really proud of all of you for reading this book, even though it's not completely transcendental. It has a lot of good ideas that are supportive of our Srila Prabhupada's teachings. So enjoy your week, and may Sri Bhishmadev bless all of you with the greatest achievement of love of God and pure knowledge. And may you all be happy. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Haribo. You look so cute with those. Hare Krishna.
Sorry for joining in late. We miscalculated the time today.
Oh, sorry about that. So, yeah, I guess I saw you come, but I didn't take note of what time it was. It was so nice to see you.